Hey, good morning, wherever you are coming from, logging in, listening to. Welcome to Hired, Navigate Your Job Search. December last year, if those who remember, I had an actual show called Coffee with George and Phil. It went on for 2 years. The intent was really to help people who are in job struggle, mostly in job struggle, to really kind of find that competitive edge. And what I found was viewership was really skyrocketing, and then the last 4 or 5 months, it kind of fell off because of the fact that we're in a position where anybody that truly wanted a job had a job. So, and then 45 days later, I mean, it was like 6 weeks, all the tech industry started doing the layoff. And the first response was, "Hey, George, where is that podcast?" Right? And I said, well, interesting. It no longer exists. It's out there. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., and also the YouTube channel that we're actually streaming from as well. But I just said, okay, well, how do I align all this branding, like Kathleen Crandall always talks about, what makes you unique and different? And so Hired, Navigate Your Job Search got recreated, and we're here today. And I don't know how I'm going to actually top this off after this one, because we've got a really special guest today. One of the things I found in job search very struggling was my LinkedIn profile, I really didn't show up. I was non-existent. And so I want to bring to the show Ann Pryor. So I want to lay the groundwork before we bring in Ann Pryor. Those who don't know, Ann is ranked like the number out of like the top 10 of LinkedIn gurus out there as far as keeping up to date with all the algorithms changing. As if you follow her, she actually just recently posted this morning, yet again, LinkedIn is up to changing algorithms. So before she actually started this, what I would call multiple streams of income, Ann was a leader and executive at a marketing firm. And so, she knows a thing or two about branding and making sure you show up your best. And so I want to bring to the show and welcome Ann Pryor.
Hi, George. Hey,
Hey,
friends.
good morning. Good
Really
morning.
nice to be here, George. Congratulations on this inaugural podcast. Hired. Way to go.
Hey, bring the best out first, right? You got to lead with your best foot forward, just like job search.
Thanks, George. Good. Well, I can't wait to get started and share practical tips, insights, and actionable opportunities for our friends on the call today.
So I didn't really plug a lot of questions. I didn't want this to be scripted. I wanted it to be more of an open dialogue. And for those people that are out there, wanted to make sure that if there's a question, please make sure you bring it up in the chat and we'll try to answer them accordingly. But let's just start off, Ann, by talking about just kind of the recent trends that you've been seeing, especially when it comes to LinkedIn, as well as people maybe in job search or maybe even struggling in job search.
Okay. George, there's, about 8 trends that I just want to highlight that I'm noticing, and we all are. Remote work is here to stay. And what that means for us in job search is LinkedIn has put in 3 different buttons: on-site, hybrid, and remote. And when I did some research on how many jobs are out there on LinkedIn, which you posted the other day too, there are 5.3 million jobs currently posted on LinkedIn. And of those jobs, 271,000 are remote and 400,000 are hybrid. That means most of the jobs are still on site. So, when you fill out your LinkedIn profile, in the top card area and in the experience, it asks you, you want remote, hybrid, or on site? Well, you might want to put on site or hybrid as opposed to remote, just to get more hits from recruiters, because we are searching behind the scenes, George, for those kinds of tags. So that's one. Any comments that you have about that remote work?
I agree. A lot of recent companies, again, with the whole economic turn, but again, it's changed just last month where open jobs actually spiked above 10.1 million. So here's a couple of data points. We got 10.1 jobs open. We've got 5.4 million people unemployed. So there's still an average of 2 jobs to 1. I know it's skill based and everything else. But there's also 65,000 baby boomers retiring every year, and there's only 30,000 people coming into the workforce. So it's still going to be a challenge. Yeah, as higher you go, it's going to be a little bit lengthier, but again, with the right plan and the right strategy, you can still land your job faster.
Yeah, I agree. You know, George, I really want to call out, though, a couple of additional sites. And Indeed.com is still awesome. They have so many jobs that are they're not the same as LinkedIn jobs.
Mhm.
So managers and below often are on Indeed.com. Don't forget about Glassdoor. Don't forget about Career Builder and Simply Hired. Those places also have great jobs. And honestly, women are finding more jobs on Indeed.com than they are on LinkedIn. The other thing about Glassdoor and Indeed.com and some of those sites is employer branding really matters. And because of that, employers are checking out those sites to see what the cultures are like. So be sure to check out other sites in addition to LinkedIn to find a job. The one thing I will say though, I'm also a recruiter. We recruiters are going to go to your LinkedIn profile first to see what you look like and if you're a good fit, even if you apply for a job on Indeed.com. The other thing I want to pull out, George, is I use artificial intelligence a lot.
Mm.
And I've been talking about this since 2011 when I was one of the first to have Google Glasses. Now, finally, AI is out here and general public are using it like crazy. So I use three sites: Chat GPT, I use Bard, which is from Google, and I use Authored Up. Those are the three sites that I'm using on a daily basis to write my summary, the about section, content for my headlines, for my posts, my post content, and it really is helpful. So those are three sites that I'd like you to check out. They're all free right now. I want you to sign up as quickly as you can because there's a wait list for some of these sites. Um, Regarding that and the artificial intelligence that's automation that's happening, what I'm seeing, George, is that skills like strategy and change management and critical thinking are really important skills now that we need to put in our LinkedIn profiles because those skills cannot be replaced by AI. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think to me, and this is one of the things I help people in coaching, is those skills. A lot of people don't even look at, they don't even use, meaning the job search candidate, right? And I think that's so important to help them kind of push them up in the overall search criteria. It's always a competitive advantage. What are the things on LinkedIn that you're not using that you could potentially start using over this weekend, like we were talking just before the show started, that can give you a better competitive advantage? Because one of the things I found talking to a lot of folks who are either starting their job search or struggling is the fact they're sitting behind their computer for 10 hours submitting or job boards, right? And I tell people is that the national average in order for you to secure a job through a resume is 1%, right? So, but through networking, it's 84%, right? And even the introverts can be taught over a short period of time to get a good networking program process in place. And it all helps through LinkedIn and these chat GPTs, these AI platforms.
Yeah, very good. I'm going to springboard on your skills piece for a second. What I've realized over the last year is LinkedIn has categories now for skills, and one category is technical skills, and one category is interpersonal skills. And interpersonal skills are basically missing from all of our resumes because we assume. And the interpersonal skills that are on every job description in the state of Minnesota are communication, critical thinking, and collaboration. And that means oral and written communication, team collaboration, and problem solving critical thinking. So, friends, if there's something that you could do right now, is add those skills to your LinkedIn profile and your resume. Regarding skills, George, you may have noticed that there's a new skills area in the About Summary section of LinkedIn. So they brought that back. And then it's also in the Experience section, and it's also in the Skills section. Now, those skills are critical. In addition, you need to have endorsements for those skills. Because what you guys don't know is behind the scenes, your profile is getting pushed to us recruiters based on the number of endorsements you have for those skills. And the more times you have those skills in your profile, because that's one of the search criteria that we use. So skills are really critical to your point. George, the other thing I've noticed is there's pay transparency now. And in every job description, you're seeing salary. And the salary range is on every job description, which I absolutely love. So people had been opting out of jobs when they found out the salary. 53% of people opted out of a job when they found the salary was below the threshold. So now that is not happening. So,
Mm.
friends, you need to know your salary. You need to research the salary that you want. You need to be clear about what it is you want and always give a range, right? So when somebody asks you your salary, you're going to say, well, thanks for asking. I've done my research. And that account executive position with that level of experience is between this and this, and I'm on the top end of that range. So that's how you would answer that question. Um, but George, those are some of the trends that I'm seeing. There are many more, but how about we switch to some of the new things on LinkedIn?
Yeah, especially the post that you had this morning. So tell us about that.
Okay. Well, so on LinkedIn, there's really two times during the year that LinkedIn makes changes to the algorithms and updates, and that's January and July. And interestingly, that corresponds, friends, with the best times to find a job because January is a new calendar year and July is a new fiscal budget year, right? So in those cases, you're going to find that more people are hired in January and July. So those of you that are on the call or listening, keep going. In other words, don't take the summer off if you need a job, because this is a perfect time to find a job. George, I found all three of my jobs in January. I don't know about you, but that was a perfect time. So,
I found a few in December, right? And of course, everybody thinks that everybody goes dormant and they go into the holidays, but I was actually got an offer, in the middle of December, just before a week before Christmas, right? And so again, great gift, by the way, but a lot of times people think, well, most of the people have already taken off, they're away. So to your point, don't miss the opportunities that are out there.
right, right. So, a few things that are new on LinkedIn and changing. You know that your big head on your profile, you used to be able to put a video behind it.
Hmm.
And I had a video of a public service announcement because I really like my friends who watch me on LinkedIn to donate their PCs to PCs for people. However, that is going away. LinkedIn found that many people were not using that video. So that will be transitioned out at the end of July. I've actually taken mine down just this morning, but that will
Hmm.
be transitioned out. What I want to talk about is the creator mode. Now, the creator mode, uh, I like and I don't like for a couple of reasons. That's a new area on LinkedIn where you can turn it on and you can actually put 5 hashtags right underneath your big head. And a hashtag, friends, is a pound sign that's kissing a word and it's used to file content. So I really would like you to think about 5 hashtags that you talk about, that you want to be recognized for, that you want people to find you for. So those hashtags can be then filtered on the advanced search and they can be tagged. So regarding those hashtags in the advanced filter now, they have a new filter called talks about. And the
Hmm.
hashtags is a filter to be talked about. So please think about the 5 hashtags. This is in the creator mode. The other thing in the creator mode, when you turn it on, is you get LinkedIn live stream, like George and I are on right now. You get LinkedIn audio, you get the follow button, and you get newsletters. Now, I don't love the follow button. I want you to connect with me with a personal message instead of following me. Because when you follow me, you can only see my content. I can't see yours.
Hmm.
And when you show up in searches, like in my feed, I pray for you. I wish you well. I send you good luck. I give you free hugs, right? I keep you top of mind. So I rather have you connect with me. Now, LinkedIn has done something I appreciate. Underneath the follow button, it's going to say connect immediately because you know them. So then you don't have to write a personalized message. So that's something new they're adding. But let's go back to the follow button. If you go to my profile right now, you're going to see the follow button if we're not connected. I always want you to hit more and then go down and hit connect and then write me a personal message. Okay. The same thing on your phone, right, George? When you want to connect with somebody at an event, for instance, there's really two ways. Open up their profile, dots, and personalize the invitation always. Or on your phone, go up to the search bar, hit the QR code, click your QR code, and you can scan the other person's QR code right from your phone. So those are a couple of ways to connect. Now, I happen to love the newsletter. I use the newsletter for my spiritual side. I also provide tips on LinkedIn on my posts. There's all kinds of strategies I'm posting and newsletters that you can see on my featured section of my LinkedIn profile. George, I want to talk about events for a second. So on LinkedIn, separate from the creator mode, there's a new events area. This blows my mind. Here's why. I'm a strategist. I want to connect with people before I need them, as Harvey Mackay says, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to the search bar on LinkedIn, listen up, I leave it blank, I take my index finger and wiggle it, and I hit enter on my keyboard. You heard that, right? So I'm trying to get to the advanced search areas on LinkedIn. Then I see a bunch of bubbles under the search bar, and I click the word events. I see all the events on LinkedIn, like 70,000 of them.
Wow.
Then I might type in artificial intelligence, and I might see 200 events. I look at the events, like George has posted this event, and then I click attend. As soon as I click attend and register, I get access to all the people that are attending the events. So when I see those people attending the events, what do you think I do? I segment them by industry, by location. And then I reach out and I write a personal message and I say, hey, George, I see you and I are both interested in artificial intelligence as it relates to job search. And we're going to be attending this meeting coming up. I'd love to connect and get your advice and insights and watch your posts on your thought leadership. Let's connect. Cheers. And phone number, email, website underneath. So now they know me before the event. I also always do that for the facilitator. And then at the event, you can chat up the side and add content and your thought leadership. And after the event, you can thank people. So I give people free hugs when I connect. And now we're friends on LinkedIn. So with the events, George, not only am I learning something new, but I'm meeting people at the right time in the right place that I have the right information. And you and I know timing is really the only thing that matters these days. Right time, right place.
I love the fact that, because for me, especially those invites, right? I don't know how many you have in your inbox, but I've got over 300 that basically somebody just hit, connect. And I don't know why they're connecting with me. I don't know if it was, we worked together previously, we shared some common interests or whatever. So even just one sentence that says, hey, George, I saw your show, love to connect. Okay, now now I understand where it's coming from, and then we can have a discussion. So again, it's the simple things that people take advantage of. It's just putting a little bit extra effort to make sure that you are unique and different as Kathleen. I always give Kathleen the kudos because I think she's the one that's got that branded.
That's right, for sure. She's the expert in that for sure. Regarding people who don't write me a personal message, George, here's what I do. I message them back without accepting their invitation. And I say, hey, George, thanks for the invitation to connect. May I ask, what did you have in mind that I can support you with today? Be well, my new friend, and phone number, email, and website underneath. And if they do not respond to me in 2 weeks, then I don't accept them. So if they're
I love that.
not going to respond to me, I don't want them in my network because I coined the term hugs, takers, users, givers, and sharers. And I really want givers and sharers in my network. And the people that just click, click, click are typically takers and users. And honestly, they exhaust me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we've all had a few of those.
Yeah. George, I want to talk a little bit about company pages. They're called pages now. And there's some things that we job seekers need to know um, before we apply for a job. And number one is know the industry that you want. And the industry that you want needs to be in the top part area of your LinkedIn profile. So when you open up, that area where you change your name, there's now about 450 industries. What I like you to do is make sure you understand the industry that you want to go into because we recruiters use that industry area to find you. So honestly, I change my industry every week based on what I'm chasing, George. Okay. And the way you can find industries is either go to my LinkedIn profile, or when you type in an industry, it will say, here's a list of industries. Or honestly, here's just a basic way that I do it. I type in A, I see all the A industries. B, I see all the B industries. So I change my industries. The next thing is, let's say you want to work at Cargill. So I type in Cargill and I open up the company page, and George, always click the About section of the company page because in the About section, they've loaded keywords and specialties. And those specialties are meta tagged for search engine optimization. And there's something new. When you scroll down in the About section, it says, are you interested in working at this company? And you click yes, and your profile automatically is pushed to the HR person or the recruiter from behind the scenes. But
That's awesome.
don't click that button until your profile looks good with the keywords because you get one chance to look good. So there's so many things on that company page. In addition, you click the jobs icon on the company page and you can set up alerts. So why not make your life easy by pushing alerts to you of jobs from that particular company?
Well, great idea. I'd like to just briefly go all the way back to ChatGPT for a second and helping people in job transition when it comes to these companies. Like, for example, one of the things that I tell people when I'm helping them in job search is that, you can take your resume and you can take what you're looking for and you can ask ChatGPT, based on my resume, my skills, etc., can you identify 50 companies in a 100-mile radius of Minneapolis? And it's ironic that you probably don't even know 70% of them, but again, it's another opportunity for AI to help you get more competitive.
That's brilliant, George. That's just brilliant. One of the other tools that, you and I have been touting for a long time regarding matching up resume against job description is jobscan.co. And jobscan.co, you get 3 or 5 tries for free, and then it's a paid service. But that tool is attached to LinkedIn, and it's brilliant because it will tell you the keywords that are missing from your resume before you apply for a job. And if you don't have the right words in your resume, you're not going to get through the applicant tracking system. So it's a real disadvantage. So George's point, friends, both the Chat GPT or other AI tools can help you marry and match those keywords, as can jobscan.co.
Hey, Ann, just on a sidebar, are there any privacy concerns or precautions that job searchers should be aware of when using LinkedIn for their job search?
Brilliant question. That's the number one thing that I do every time I work with a client, George, is set the privacy and settings. There are about 45 privacy and settings, friends. If you look at your LinkedIn profile, there's that mini me tiny head at the top right. When you click that mini me tiny head and you go to settings and privacy, you'll see a whole bunch of settings on the left side that you'll click. And one of the most important ones is visibility. And I really want you to make sure that you turn down your profile if you're creeping, sneaking, peeking, and researching people, if your profile doesn't look good. So that's under visibility. Uh, Other one would be make sure that you edit your public profile's URL. So you've seen people that have their first name and last name, and then you've seen people that have first name and last name dash numbers and letters. They haven't had a chance to reserve that URL. So
Mm.
that's under edit your privacy. The other thing I want you to do under visibility is when you're making changes to your profile, it's like practicing basketball, and I played in high school and college. I don't want you to send out all the content that you're updating, right? So turn down, don't share your profile updates with your network if you're just sort of practicing basketball, right? Other ones, George, would be under data privacy. I have 20,000 connections and I've lost my contacts twice. My LinkedIn profile has gone down.
Mm.
And so I want you to go to data privacy and back up your data on LinkedIn. And I do it every month. And when you back up your data, LinkedIn sends you a message, and in the subject line, it says LinkedIn security. Scary, but it's actually zip files of all your content on LinkedIn. So it's a PDF of all of your content from your profile, and it's an Excel spreadsheet of all your connections. And this is really cool because you can put those connections in first name, last name, company name, industry, order, and then you can see who's missing from your network in case you want to change industries or you want to go after a particular company. So those are some of the things, George. And there's changes every week to those privacy and settings. I call them gremlins that eat the toggles in the settings area. So please, friends, go to the settings area frequently.
Hey, Ann, we have a question, and I'm not going to post it. I'm going to keep the person confidential, but and I've never had this question before. But when I apply for jobs, do I have to add in my criminal record?
If it requires you to do so on the application form, it's best to be honest, isn't it? It's always best to be honest because if you're not, we don't trust you then when it comes to the interview. However, if there is a criminal record, so let me just tell you a story. So a few years ago, I was working in a building that was 17 stories, and I would go to the 11th floor every day. And because I'm an extrovert, I would say, hey, hello, my name is Anne. I noticed that you're going to the 12th floor. What do you do up there? I'm a career coach. And the guy says, I help felons find jobs. And I said, well, what is it that you do that you would recommend? And he said, primarily, it's networking that's going to help people that have a record find jobs. So, what we want to do is maybe even Google on LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn and type felons, and you can see the companies that may hire felons. Because if somebody has that in their profile, you can see where they work. So, I'm going to say, please be hopeful. We need your gifts badly, and always be honest and forthright because your integrity is all that matters. So you'll be just fine.
Hey, Ann, you had kind of like touched on it before, but how can job seekers use LinkedIn publishing platforms to showcase their expertise and enhance their credibility in their field?
Okay. So, first of all, you have to have thought leadership. So, if you're So here's my strategy. You need to build your house, your LinkedIn profile. You need to clean it up. Every week I go in and make changes to my profile. You need to invite the right people to your party, right? The people that care about you, that know you, love you, trust you, that care about your thought leadership. And then you can communicate with them. So if you don't have a good foundation, don't start communicating yet. George, I want to tell you, what we have found regarding algorithms is the number one thing that you can do that's the most important is comment smartly on somebody's post and comment even before you like or share. So the first thing you can do would be like tag, put an at sign in front of George's name, tag him, and then thank him for the post, and then say something smart, and then ask a question because George will respond back to you. Number one, I would say, would be comment smartly and leave more than 5 words. Okay. The next thing you could do would be share someone's post with a comment. That gives a 17% more weight in response. So if George says something smart or I do, be sure to repost it with a comment with the tag that gives them a shout out. Okay. George, I have a whole strategy for thought leadership.
Well,
And
I'll just share my personal experience you with Han. I mean, we've known each other, I can't believe we're going on 7 years. So I met Ann through an invite. Somebody told me, you're in job transition. In the state of Minnesota, they have this great program called hired.org. And one of the classes that they provide is Ann's class, which is LinkedIn. And so I always tell people you've got to put a helmet on and you got to strap in because Ann takes 8 hours and takes about 40 hours of information and crams it all in there. So you really got to be really prompt and take great notes. But the fact is here's the example. Prior to working with Ann is that on average in 90 days I was getting 80 or 90 people to look at my LinkedIn page. And after Ann's instruction and training and so forth, in 3 days it went from 80 to 90 to over 2,500. Making sure, like Ann said before, cleaning it all up, making sure all the algorithms and all the work and all the endorsements and all that stuff is aligned so that you rank higher in those searches. So, and that's what I tell Ann is the best.
thank you, George. I'm gonna piggyback on that for a second. So let me just tell you where to put the right stuff. Okay. So friends, here's the deal. You know your big head on your top card, it's called, okay, where your name is. The mistake that I see people making is they don't put the job titles that they're seeking. They will put a brand statement, but no keywords. So I'm a recruiter. Think like a recruiter, you guys, not like a job seeker. Okay. So that's the first thing. And what you would want to put, let's say you want to be an account executive or a sales manager. So you would type in the title, account executive, comma, sales manager, comma, maybe district manager. Okay, we've got 3 titles. Then you might put the space in the pipe and then your brand statement. And the brand statement might be what you're recognized for doing, what you want to do going forward, like leading top sales teams in manufacturing, opening new channels in the EMEA market. So you see how tight that was? So there's all kinds of keywords there. You get 220 characters in that title line, and every word matters. So I don't want to see accounting professional desperately seeking new opportunity. Okay. So you got the difference. The other thing, George, I want to address is that green neck brace around your head.
Yeah.
So I put out a poll when that came out last year, and I asked recruiters and HR people if they're more inclined to stop and talk to that person. And they said no. So what I would like to just call out is I want you to fill out that you're open to work. I want you to put in 5 titles that you're immediately available, that you'll take hybrid, remote, or on-site, and you'll want to get notifications. But I don't want you to put the green neck brace unless you're a stay-at-home mom, dad going back to work, you're a college student looking for a job, or you just want a part-time job. Okay. Otherwise, director level and above, HR and recruiters think it looks too desperate. So that's just by the way. The other area I want to call out, George, is the first 40 words of the about section are critical. So in that case, I want you to type in what the titles of job you're seeking, what you can do for the organization, and the industries that you're seeking, and then your email address. You see, we recruiters have recruiter premium, and we only get 50 in-mails a month. They cost $10. When the in-mails are done, we have to buy more in-mails, and it costs us a lot of money. But if we can find your email address, we will connect with you much more quickly. So put your email. However, if you put your email in there, George, you know what I'm going to say. Make sure your password is 16 characters long with letters, numbers, and symbols, because you're going to get hacked. The third point I want to call out is your current experience. where your jobs are. If you don't have a current present position with the right title in that present position, you're not going to get picked up as high in search because we recruiters are searching for the current title in the current position. So I teach a placeholder strategy that you can either call me on or I can post. But George, on my featured section, I've listed a whole bunch of goodies that people can grab, including Boolean search. And if you don't know what Boolean search is, it's and, or, not. And it is the way that we search as recruiters. And if you don't have the right keywords, you're not going to show up in searches. So those are a couple tips, George, that are musts.
No. Before we stop and parting thoughts and you go off and we share actually a video of a person in between successes, I just want to ask, Ann, do you have any additional tips or advice for job seekers looking for leveraging their LinkedIn effectively to find their next role?
Couple things, George. In the top card area of your profile, it says additional profile things that you can put in. So there's open to, and then there's more, and then there's add profile sections. Well, in the add profile sections, George, you can add projects. And when you add projects, you can call out friends or colleagues or teammates. And we recruiters are interested in seeing this because we know then you're a collaborative leader. I also want you to add volunteer experiences and causes because 47% of HR people say that when a person puts volunteer experiences and causes, they know that that person is going to jump in and be a helpful kind of a person. So those are some tips that I want to call out as well.
Awesome. Well, Ann, again, always a pleasure. I don't know how I'm going to follow up next week with this. But again, thank you for joining us. This will be recorded. You can go on my Facebook page, Hired, cut your career search time in half to see the video, or the YouTube channel, or by the end of Saturday, it will be on the platforms for the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other podcast platforms. So again, Ann, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, George. Blessings to you. Everybody pick up George's book, Hired, on Amazon or other sites. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to help. Blessings to you, friends. Be someone people want to help twice. We need your gifts. Bye for now, George. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So there you have it. One of the things I found in my first job transition very tough after a couple of months, like most people in their first job transition, is that even though each day felt like a month, before you know it, 3 months go by and you had very little to show for it. Realizing that this is going to be probably one of the most difficult jobs that you have, is to find a job. I can tell you to this day that my calendar was more packed in job search, just reminding me to do things, etc., meetings, calls, those types of things, to really be effective. And I know that it sounds like a lot of work, but what I have found for people to be successful is if you put the effort in, it will come back to you. You can do the math. If you can turn around and save yourself, like I did from my first to second job transition. My first job transition was 13 months with an unemployment rate of 4.3%. I thought I'd find a job pretty quick, but I didn't know the process. And as I went through the first job transition, I took a lot of copious notes for all the people that I networked with, and I was able in my second job transition to cut it in half. And then in a post-pandemic, I found 3 offers in 35 days from the time I left my last role. For anybody who's in a professional setting, it takes just 30 days to get a phone screen and get your first interview. So what I want to do is leave you with a video. You have an opportunity to pause this and look at it and go back on it, but I think it's relevant because what I'm going to try to share at the end of every session is somebody who is currently in job transition, and I kind of label it in between successes. It's where I actually heard the first term when I was in my first job transition from somebody else. I love the term because it's such a negative connotation, job search, job transition, etc. And it just gave a more positive spin. And as I tell people, and you'll hear in the video, it's energy, enthusiasm, positive attitude. So give a listen. This is Sandeep. I've actually met Sandeep. I've worked with Sandeep only 3 months ago, and he's come on a journey. And then the other opportunities will be, now granted this one's a little bit longer, 10 minutes. I like to try to keep him to 3 or 4 minutes, but he has a lot of great content and a lot of actions that we may have not even considered when we're in a long job search. But the other one is when I find people that have recently landed, what was the one thing that made them successful in landing to help you get hired? Hey, welcome to In Between Successes. You know, one of the things I found in job transition was there's so much negativity on the words career transition, job search, job transition. And I really, in my first job transition, and somebody had told me about when I was being introduced to them, is I'm in between successes. And I really just loved that because the fact is that it was a more positive spin. And it's one of the things I talk about that's so important through the whole process is about, you know, maintaining an energy, enthusiasm, and positive attitude while you're in this journey. And so what I'd like to do is really introduce you to a gentleman that I've come to know in the last couple of months, Sandeep. Sandeep has been a director of go-to-market strategies and operations. And I'll let him tell you a little bit more of what that entails. But he's got a couple options, and he's also got a couple of ideas for those people that might be struggling in job transition. So let's welcome to the show, Sandeep. Sandeep, great to see you.
Hey, George, thanks a lot for giving this opportunity to speak with you. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I know your story, but those who are listening don't. So why don't you tell me a little bit about maybe the recent leading up to in between your successes, about what does a director of go-to-market strategy and operations do?
Yeah, hi. So my background is I've go-to-market is in. I come from the tech world, so I've worked for companies like Cisco and most recently Pure Storage. So go-to-market basically entails marketing, sales, and service. That is customer success. So I've always been involved in the strategy and operations. So when you have ideas, you know, you need to get executed. There are programs which I've led large programs, company-wide, cross-functional. So what I've been really fortunate to work in different functions and wear multiple hats. And that's what a go-to-market is, basically connecting the dots and bridging gaps between sales and marketing and breaking the barriers. So that's what I've been doing.
That's great. Thank you very much. First question I have is, you know, what is some of the greatest learning experience that you have found in between successes right now?
Yeah. So the thing is that it gives you an opportunity to rethink of what you really want to do. It is definitely humbling, for sure, because I've been through multiple transitions, and each success, I mean, in between success, I mean, you're so subconsciously you're tuned to saying transitions, but in between successes is you meet a lot of different people, and you network. So one important thing which I find is to network, and it is something which doesn't come naturally to everybody, because when you're in between your success, you're in a zone where you're not confident, because generally people are creature of habits, and they're used to a 9 to 5 job, and that suddenly doesn't happen. So it's important to regather and look at what you want to do, In my case, I've been trying to look at my strengths, and I'm at this age at 47, where I just turned 47 recently. With young kids, and what do I really want to do in life, and what is my next phase of life going to be? And this gives an opportunity for me personally to really look at what I want. And so I've been interviewing, and I've been very selective of what the companies I've been interviewing with, and also what type of role I want to take, having had a good role of experiences. But currently, the job market, I've not found the right opportunity. So I've started looking at other options. So currently, I'm in the midst of looking at franchising options. And generally, when people think of franchising, they think of food franchising. But then there are a lot more things available. Last 3, 4 jobs which I've landed is all through people, and people who have worked with me or trusted referrals, or just instead of applying to a black hole, and you're expecting results to happen. So it's people get you jobs, and especially when you're more experienced, you definitely need to work with people.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So just briefly, why don't you tell me what's your thought process in, maybe coming up with franchising as an option?
So, my thought process was at this time, I'm relooking at my investments, and there is, of course, there's sometimes you're used to a particular salary, and a lifestyle, and you have your expenses which you can't change. I have 2 kids, and a family to support, and then there are options because you're used to a paycheck, and now you're trying to do something new. So I am in that crossroads where I've financially looked at, at least for next 2 to 3 years, and I can put investment. You need to look at your finances in order to look at a franchising option. And luckily, with God's grace, I'm in that situation where I can. So that is something which you need to look. But once in any business, it takes 2 or 3 years. So I'm looking at businesses which will hit the break even in 12 to 18 months. And that is what I'm evaluating. So still in the midst of doing that. But there are options available where, at least for the next 2 years, I have buffer where I'll dig into my savings. And then thereafter, hopefully I should be making enough money or more than what I was making before.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Final question. What advice or insight would you offer to other professionals who are currently in the midst of being in between successes?
Yeah, I definitely believe you need to have an accountability partner,
Oh, yeah.
and you need to have a coach. Sometimes some people generally don't like to use coaches, and that is something I definitely recommend, because you need to have a sounding board. Sometimes it might be a professional coach, or it might be a friend who's been through the transition, but you need to have accountability, because it's very easy to get lost and not have. So there are also, if you have 2 or 3, because the job market is not very, many people are looking for jobs. There are success teams that you team up with other people who are looking, and have weekly meetings, meet up for coffee, go out, and share your successes of where you are. So accountability partner and having success teams is highly recommended. It's better not to stay at home, and then you get into a cycle of negativity. So you need to be socially active, and let people know that you are in between successes, because the subconscious thing to do is, most people generally tend to be themselves, they don't go out, and that's natural. But that is very important to have an accountability partner, and be part of success teams where you have other people looking. So that kind of accelerates you getting a job faster.
Well, Sandeep, again, I really appreciate you jumping on and helping us and those that are in between career successes. Wish you the best, and I appreciate you, and you know I'm here for you.
Thanks a lot, George, and I really thank you for. In fact, I just want to let people know that George, the current franchise consultant, is who I got to know was through one of George's contacts. So I went through 4 people through networking to get to this contact, and it's thanks to George that I managed to get this franchising consultant. So there is the power of networking, and I just got to know George just 3 months back. So it's all about developing relationships, and it's important. And you never know what the universe or whatever you believe God provides to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Again, guys, we all need help in between successes. Back to the show.
You're my